It's taken for. I'm not sure if we're live yet. Okay, now we're live. Hey guys, we are very excited to see you tonight. I have Jeff Salzenstein, former top 100 ATP pro, on with me, the serve surgeon. You've had the elbow the enemy guy. Jeff, I have absolutely used that a million times and it worked so great. So I just want to thank you for helping me kick off TennisCon this year.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure. And I love doing these with you, Pete. So thanks for having me tonight. And I know we're going to talk a lot about things that are related and unrelated to the serve. So I'm excited about that as well.
Yeah. Tonight we're going to be talking about how to master this game of tennis, which is a very challenging. We have a number of people on, I see, already saying hello. So I just want to point you guys out and say hello back. We have Leslie from Tampa. We have Anna. Where's Anna from? Yeah, guys, go ahead.
I see Danny. Danny's been a long-time follower of mine, so great to see you, Danny. And hi, Leslie and Anna.
Yeah,
I recognize some names in here.
Yeah, keep telling us where you're from. I like all. It's cool to see everybody from all over the place.
Hello, GB.
John and
Richard
from New York. And Robin from North Carolina. And I want to start because I did promise I would do this, and I'm very, because I usually forget, but I kept my promise to two people, Brooke and Casey. So if you're watching or tuning in or going to watch the replay, they gave me this hat, Jeff, and you have yet to comment on the hat. And I said I'd wear it because I know where you're from, Colorado.
It's a big, yeah. I mean, I have a similar hat, but it's got a big tree on it. So I didn't notice Colorado, which is crazy. Yeah. But I'm pretty impressed that you're wearing that tonight.
I was in honor of you and Brooke and Casey. I said, I'm going to wear my Colorado hat because we're interviewing Jeff, who's from Denver, who I came out to take a lesson with. And so, yes, I just want to.
Should I put the Stanford hat? Should I put the Stanford hat on?
So, yeah, let's get into it. We got 75 people on. First of all, I just want to say thank you to everybody. Keep asking questions as things come up and you get interested, because I think tonight's topic is going to be very interesting. Ask questions. We'll stop every once in a while to answer your questions. And so keep the party going on the side. We see everybody saying hello. Dennis from Long Island, I see you there, bud. Thank you so much. So let's talk about this, because you played at Stanford, which is the best men's tennis college team in the history of tennis, and we're talking about mastering tennis, what it takes to, first of all, get that level of mastery that you have to get into to get to Stanford. So you had mastered the game already to kind of be able to play at Stanford, even though you can always keep learning, getting better, and then you had to maintain that mastery and then add on to it. So tell us about the process growing up of how you started to really understand what it took to always keep getting to another level in your game.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question, great topic. When you reached out to me last week, Pete, about mastery, I kind of lit up, because you know that I'm really passionate about teaching and coaching, and I'm very passionate about what's happening between the ears. So I do a lot of performance coaching, and I'm coaching even executives now. And the mission of where my life is moving is towards this very topic, not only mastery, but just peak performance. And so this is a great topic. And, you know, we'll go back in time. And first off, you know, I don't consider myself a master. I consider myself always a work in progress. I think it's just an accumulation of years of study and honing the craft. And when I was 12 years old, I had a dream to go to Stanford, and I lived in Colorado, and I didn't have great coaching, and I was just figuring stuff out. I had some coaches along the way. So for you to say, gosh, you achieved, you know, a level of mastery to get to Stanford, I guess that's true. And then I also think about, you know, my backhand and some of the other parts of my game that were not masterful, even my serve when I was young. So I really look at mastery as a work in progress. You never really get somewhere. It's really about that cliche of it's the process. It's working on the process. It's working on the right things in a smart way. And, Pete, we also talked a little bit about how a lot of players are challenged by knowing what to work on. There's so much information out there, and you can sometimes veer down a path that takes you off track. And I've done that for years, and I can go into that, all my mistakes tonight too, as well. But I think about the mastery of, as a junior and a college player getting to Stanford. And if I think about one quality that I had early on internally, was that deep desire and focus to be the best I could be. And so I didn't play 5 hours a day. I played an hour a day or an hour and a half, but I subscribed to the Jimmy Connors model of when you're on the court, 100% focus for an hour, hour and a half. And obviously some good coaching and some athletic skill, but an accumulation of years and doing the extra work got me to Stanford. I don't know if you have a follow-up question to that, but I can dig right into the serve and how I transform my serve, which is a big anchor to, sharing what mastery is about, if you'd like.
Well, yeah, I'd like you to go into that. But before you go into that, I also, you hit on one thing. You're like, it's so easy to go down a rabbit hole, and there's so many things, which this is, I'd like to, kind of get into, how do we do things in the right order? How do we get everything to work? Because I actually did a lesson today with Dr. Mark Kovacs. I met him in person. We went over my serve, and then afterwards we were talking about everybody he's working with. And I said, golf. I'm like, man, golf is a tough sport. He's like, yeah, but it's easy for me to train because I only got to get him good at like 3 things. Tennis is much more complex. So, all of us who are just obsessed with the game, I think part of the things that we love and we hate about the game is it's very elusive, right? Because it's like, you start getting this kind of going, and you're like, yeah, but now this is falling apart. And so, if we could figure out a way to put the pieces together for people tonight, I think that'd be awesome. But let's start with the serve, because that's probably the biggest challenge that I think most of us face. Sure. Is getting all those moving parts going.
Yeah. So I think the first step towards gaining mastery, and this goes into all phases of life. So in business, professional, it's gaining awareness, because you can't change. Oh, did I lose you?
No, I'm putting you in the spotlight.
Great. Oh, wow. Awesome. You can't change a behavior or a habit if you're not aware of what you're doing wrong. And what I find, especially when I've worked with players, is the thing they think they're doing wrong is not actually the thing that they're doing wrong, or the thing that they need to fix. So I feel like a lot of players these days are kind of on the wrong, in my opinion, on a path, on a highway that's taking them away from mastery. And so I think that's our job, Pete, right, as coaches, to try to get people, simplify it as much as possible and get people on the path to mastery. And so when it came to my serve, I had a decent serve in the juniors. I was small, I got the ball in, but I didn't have a big weapon. I go to Stanford, and my freshman year at Stanford, I really struggled. I double faulted a lot. And even my coach was having me try a lot of different things. Coach Gould, who's arguably the best college coach of all time, but he wasn't able to crack the code with my serve. He tried, but he couldn't really crack it. And I remember I played some pro tournaments after my freshman year, and I wasn't breaking 100 miles an hour. I wasn't qualifying into pro events. And I always tell people, when they say, oh, you got to top 100 in the world, when I was 19 in the world, I had 0 ATP points. Now, last time I checked, there was a 19-year-old that's number 1 in the world right now. So imagine me being Alcaraz's age and having 0 ATP points, and then fast forward 10 years later, and I'm top 100. So what happened after that freshman year was I went home and I modeled Goran Ivanisevic. And something clicked, and I added 20 miles an hour to my serve. Now, keep that in mind, that I modeled someone, and it worked. That model worked for me, and it improved my serve. I didn't get instruction. I didn't have someone telling me what to do. It was an internal process, an internal cybernetics visualization process of one of the best servers in the world that allowed me to transform my serve. And I think a lot of players today, they kind of give their power away by going to a coach. Nothing wrong with it. I love it when people come to me, but the self-awareness is not there to necessarily know how to fix it or what to fix. I'll give you an example of where it hurt my game. With my two-handed backhand, later in my career, I would look at videos of my two-handed backhand, and I call it the high-altitude backhand because I'd have this chicken wing thing come out, no extension. That's what my backhand looked like. So dip the front shoulder and do this thingy. Maybe some of you can relate to something like that. It just didn't look right. And I tried to go fix it. And on my backhand, I had a straight take back. And at the time, Andre Agassi and others, they kind of brought the racket up, kind of like Djokovic does. And so I started, and at contact, Agassi has straight arms, but I had bent arms. So what I tried to do is I tried to make my arms go straight like Agassi, but my grip and my stroke path, it wasn't conducive to an Agassi type swing. So I probably wasted 6 to 12 months trying to make my backhand look like Agassi's when I should have made it look like Ivanisevic or Rios or Inquist. Those backhands were more in my style. So it's really important if you're going to model a pro that you pick a style that maybe is most like your style or the way that you would swing. And so again, it's hard to know who to model, but just know that transformation and mastery can come from modeling the right players or the right concepts, and getting video on your strokes and gaining self-awareness. I mean, Pete, you've probably seen it over and over again. How many times has someone seen a video of themselves and they say, I had no idea I looked like that?
Oh, all the time.
All
And
the time.
yeah, and I think that's a big advantage that people today. By the way, I just want to point out we're about 140 people on right now. So guys, invite your friends, make a TikTok dance video and invite them out to this live stream. But
is this because they all know it's my birthday tomorrow?
It's Jeff's birthday tomorrow. Let's
so is everyone going to sing happy birthday to me? If you guess my age without looking up Wikipedia, Pete's going to give you some type of free prize. Anyway,
okay, that's true. I'll have to give him some. That's a good idea.
You can't look it up. You have to give us a number in the first 30 seconds without looking it up. Be honest. And guess my age.
Let's see. Guess Jeff's age, and I will give you guys. Well, since we're talking about video analysis, I'll do a free video analysis, even if you don't sign up for TennisCon 6. Alex says happy birthday.
But Erwin doesn't count because Erwin knows me too well. So
okay,
Erwin's out.
Okay, Erwin's out.
Erwin's out.
Oh, what about? Do they know you? Does he know you?
Yeah, he knows me. He probably looked it up, but no, he probably knew me from before. So Danny got it right.
So who gets it?
I'll be 49 tomorrow.
49 tomorrow.
So the gray hair is starting to come in a little bit, and it's humbling.
Oh, you're looking good, bud. You're looking very good. Yeah. So everybody, if we could bring everybody in, I'm sure they'd all love to sing you happy birthday. But you just hit on something very big, is the idea of video analysis. And guys, you know, I do these camps. It's kind of interesting. I do these camps for players. We have a great time, and we video everything, every single stroke, and we just keep putting the pieces together through progression learning, which I want to talk about tonight. And because I think that's how you truly get better. But most people, they're so obsessed with tennis. They love tennis. I mean, you don't get on a plane, spend the amount of money you come without loving tennis. Like it's your thing. But so many people still are not videoing themselves, even though it's their thing. So Jeff, way back in the day, what did you do? Because you're talking about self-awareness. How did you become self-aware? How did video help you? I know you actually work with one of the pioneers in video. And
yeah,
I'll let you tell that story.
Sure. So I would say the self-awareness piece started coming later, probably more on the pro tour. And you asked that question, or you mentioned that I worked with someone around video analysis. I had a big challenge. I got to 150 in the world, and then my body started breaking down. And I had 2 surgeries before the age of 24. My career almost ended. And I had to put Humpty Dumpty back together, put my body back together again. And I studied human performance. I studied the body. I studied the mind. I went deep into spirituality. That's when I came across, Zen Buddhism and other spiritual practices, and whether it be meditation or visualization, I just started becoming aware of that side of who we are as humans. And so I went down some rabbit holes to try to understand why I was getting injured or why I had these limiting beliefs, what was holding me back. And so when I got to 28, about 28 years old, I started buying these VHS tapes from John Yandel at tennisplayer.net. He had the high-speed footage of Sampras and Philippoussis and Querten. And I started putting those tapes on TV, and I would just watch them over and over again to try to figure it out. And then I actually bought 200 or 300 DVDs of tennis matches from my era. So whether it was Agassi, Rafter, or Sampras, Correia, or whoever it was, I had a whole library. And I would watch these videos to study the shot selection, to study how they finished on their racket, to study their low volley, because I always had coaches tell me I needed to get my back knee down to the ground on a low volley. And I felt like I was only.
We lost your sound. Oh, whoops. Unmute mic. Can't unmute. You've muted your mic. Uh-oh.
Here we go.
Okay, just back. Whew.
Yeah. So where was I?
Well, I want to stop you right there.
Okay.
Because
the video. I was starting to get into the video. Yeah.
Well, we'll get in the video, but you mentioned something. Look, again, you guys, I really respect you guys. I cannot stress that enough. The idea that, many of you didn't grow up as junior players, you didn't have the coaching, and you're seeking out this information yourself. And so what I don't want you to do is feel bad about being this obsessed, and actually challenge you to go deeper. If we just heard Jeff, he grew up, he played very high level, good enough to get into Stanford. Okay. But he still felt like, I'm not there enough. I need more. Then he worked really, really hard at Stanford, worked his way all the way up to the top of the ladder at Stanford, when I think starting middle of the road or bottom of the ladder.
Five singles my freshman year.
5 singles.
Then he goes junior and senior year, played number 1. Yeah.
Played number 1. Then he's on the pro tour, and he still has this mindset of like, I don't know enough. I need more information. Like, he had already hit thousands and probably millions of balls. He had already been in a ton of matches, wars on the pro tour, and so that's how Tom, it reminds me of like Tom Brady a little bit. I mean, how many football games this guy been in, yet he is obsessed with watching video of anything he can watch football, whether it's another game, whether it's himself, where it's watching plays, schemes. And you did the same thing. And that's what I want to challenge everybody to do. It's like, you guys are there, you've got the right mindset, but you're still not taking the next steps to start to put the pieces together, like watching video, and then all of a sudden going, okay, that's what the video looks like that I want to look like. Now, let me see if I'm actually looking like that through video myself. Sorry, I didn't mean to steal.
No, it's great. I mean, I think I started thinking about different stories I wanted to share. At 12 years old, I had a dream to go to Stanford. I didn't know how I was going to get there. But when I got to high school, when all my friends were going to Taco Bell and, McDonald's or Subway for lunch, I was sneaking a snack lunch into the high school library, because I knew I had tennis that afternoon, and I had 3 hours of homework, and I had AP, all the stuff. So I was already doing that kind of extra when I was 14, 15. And when I went to Stanford, I was the guy. I always tell people, when when people go to play college tennis, about 80% of players stay the same or get worse, and 20% get better. And there's a lot of different reasons for it. We used to have practice from 2:30 to 5 every day, Monday through Friday. Well, guess what? I went at 2 and got a 30-minute private lesson with John Whitlinger, our assistant coach, because I knew in the 2:30 to 5 slot, I wasn't going to get enough forehands. So I was doing that 3 days a week in college. And then before every dual match at NCAAs in Georgia, I was the guy that was hitting a hopper of serves before the match started because I was so obsessed with making sure my serve felt good. Now, yeah, it's a little OCD. It's probably a little controlling. It might even be a lack of trust sometimes. I've thought a lot about that. Like, hey, you can relax a little bit. You don't need to practice so much. And I learned later in my career, I didn't have to hit as many serves, but I still hit a lot of serves. And I think a lot of players, even on the tour today, don't. I know one guy in particular, I've tried to help kind of on the mental side of things. We asked him how many times he'd hit a hopper serves in the last 6 months. And he said, oh, like 4 times. And he's a pro. And I'm like, it should be 4 times a week minimum. So that's the kind of OCD, Kobe Bryant, Steph Curry. I obviously never got to the level of those guys, but Rafa Nadal, when you see the videos of him, circling around and hitting the inside out forehand where this coach is feeding him. Another great story I can share. I was in Cincinnati, where you do your clinics every year. And I was playing in the qualies. And I think it was the night before my first round match. And they had that center court with the overhang in Cincinnati. And there was no one around. It was like 7:00 at night. And I go sit in the stadium and I look down, and Larry Passos is feeding balls from the service line to Gustavo Kuerten. And Gustavo Kuerten is hitting one-handed backhands down the line like a robot. Like same ball like this. Oh, and every ball was hitting, within 3 to 4 feet. And it was that repetition, that obsessiveness, that commitment to the craft is, that's what separates the good from the great.
Yeah. And I just want to piggyback on that because that reminds me, and it was how I got the idea to bring up this topic, achieving and maintaining mastery. It was in Cincinnati this year. I was watching Emma Raducanu, who, again, you're like, okay, she's mastered the game to a certain level because she's won a U.S. Open. She's on the pro tour. She's making money hitting tennis balls. So she did a lot to get that good. And then she was going to play Serena Williams in 2 days, and it was raining. So she came into Harper's Point. She hit one approach shot with the same exact footwork pattern for an hour and a half straight. And then she did go out and clean her clock, the next day. So, I mean, that is what is so awesome about, people who achieve that high level is that it's a lot of rinsing and repeating is what I think I want people to understand. It's like, you've got to do this. You can't get bored with like, all right, I've already done that. Like, oh, this is a baby drill. Why are you feeding me the ball underhand? I can handle a 100-mile-an-hour serve. So why am I getting the ball underhand? But players like yourself, you just don't leave any stone unturned. And I think that's the key to the mastery. It's like you're willing to do the most mundane, boring things. That's super easy to do that anybody can do. And then you take it to a level where all of a sudden now somebody's hitting a serve 100 mile an hour at you, right?
Right. Yeah. So true. And I want to add that one of the biggest mistakes a player can make when they're obsessed about technique is they don't spend enough time hitting the targets. So what happens is you get so bogged down in technique, and I've been guilty of it, that you forget that it's actually more important to have a target, or as important, at least. It depends what your technical proficiency is with a stroke. But I took a lesson from Robert Lansdorp when I was 28, and I was nervous to take a lesson because I always heard that he yelled at people. and I've never responded well to the yellers. I'm the sensitive, touchy feely type. So I need to be coddled. I don't want to be yelled at.
Good
Um,
shot,
I'm
Jeff. It's a good shot.
I'm still doing trauma. I'm still doing trauma work around why I can't take someone yelling at me. But uh, you know, I go to the lesson, and he puts um, the squeegees with a tennis ball on top of the squeegee pole, and it's up against the net about a foot or 2 feet above the net. And he's like, okay, take your backhand and hit that target, that little tennis ball tube on top of the squeegee. And he would say, you know what? Sharapova hits the backhand 8 out of 10 times,
Mm,
hits the target. And I think I hit it like 2 or 1. I mean, I wasn't even close. So we get so bogged down in technique, we forget to do the targets. And that's what like Querton was doing with the down the line backhand. He had a
yeah.
target. Almost
Yes.
everyone has a target. And one of the big things that changed my career when I was 28 is I started working with a coach that was deep into the visualization of visualizing the shape of the shot or visualizing a window over the net or where you wanted the ball to land. Because up until that point, either most coaches were technique based or I was too technique based. So just keep that in mind that when you're focusing on mastery, there's also mastery of your targets. And, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. I've seen players, I'll watch a match on video or I'll talk to them, on the court. They have no idea that 90% of their forehands are going in the net. And the fastest way to get better, if you're hitting 90% of your forehands in the net, is not to hit the ball in. It's actually to hit the ball out, because you're trying to hit it out, but it's actually going to go in, because when you try to hit it in, it actually goes in the net. So your perception is inaccurate in relation to the net, and people aren't willing sometimes to exaggerate the kind of miss they need to have. I've had players where they'll hit a forehand in the fence and they rip it, like it comes off hot and it goes in. It's like still flying, and they'll get pissed. They'll get mad. And maybe even if they had another coach, that coach would get mad. And I actually say, actually, you're one shot away from hitting, like you're going to make, like you're going to rip it.
Yes.
Right. Over and over again. I've seen that over, a decade when I've been on the court. They'll hit their worst return or forehand in the fence, and the next one's like the best shot of the day. But sometimes we judge these mistakes too harshly instead of just adjusting from a neutral place. And so mastery is not just technique. Mastery is the targets. Mastery is how do you master your mind? And that comes back to awareness. Like, are you aware of your thoughts? Are you aware of how you're thinking, how you're responding to mistakes, how you're focusing on the next point? And I think most players are not doing a great job of thinking well or focusing well. And that's what prevents mastery. They might have all the information. They might actually uncover the truth from a great coach, but their mind and the resistance that's created, it's kind of an inner game of tennis principle, is the more resistance you have, whether it's through thinking or ego, the harder it is to achieve something or to execute something. So I think people struggle with mastery when they're obsessed because they don't focus on the right things and they're not thinking in a smart way.
Yeah. I mean, you hit on a lot of stuff there in the last couple of minutes. I
Yeah,
mean,
there
it
was
was
a lot
really
there.
that was awesome. But one of the things that stood out to me is the idea of experimenting while trying to develop a certain outcome. And a lot of people have a tough time with that because they're so obsessed and because they always want the right thing. For most tennis players is to see that ball go inside the lines. And I know just hearing the way you're talking, and I'm sure you do it, and I do it, and I'll say, okay, I really want you. I'm serious. We're going to learn this slice serve. I want you to aim for the side fence, like, and I want to see if we can make that thing move. And it's so hard for people to do that, even when you're begging them to hit the ball out. They still like refuse. They have the absolute green light to miss, but they still cannot get themselves to really go for it and try and miss big. They still want to be close to the lines. Like, and so that is, I'm so glad you brought that up. And yeah, lots of times you're on to something when you miss really, really bad. And the coach is telling you, because lots of times there is coaches who always say good shot, good shot. And you're and I've had, players complain to me like, I hate when people tell me good shot when it's a bad shot, and sometimes they are just like a robot, they're saying good shot. But other times when they're saying good shot or yes, do that, like they're generally excited that you did something different that they want you to start doing. And usually the first time you do it, you're going to miss, right?
Yeah, exactly. And if you're attempting to make a ball in the court and check and change your technique, good luck. They're competing. You're competing. So you either have to make the ball with your existing technique or commit to changing the technique and being okay with the ball going wherever it's supposed to go. And so you've seen it with the serve, Pete, trying to change technique on the serve. You'll have them do a shadow swing and they get their nice elbow of the enemy and their nice turn. And as soon as they toss the ball, their elbow goes like this because they're distracted by the ball. It's the way they get the ball in.
Yeah.
So spending enough time hitting a tennis ball without any focus on where it goes could be a nice exercise for people. Also, you touched on something I've been guilty of over the years, and I'm sure you have as well. Whenever we say good shot, that's also a judgment, right? And it also basically, you want to obviously encourage your student, but every time you say good shot, then there's like an expectation or something that's created, and it can pull you out of your focus. I know there were times with my stepfather back in the day, I'd hit 20 forehands in a row and he'd say, oh my gosh, you're hitting your forehand so great. And the next one would go in the middle of the net and I would go nuts. I'm like, don't say anything. Like, let me do me, right? And so as coaches, it's challenging for us because we want to encourage our students and give them feedback. And at the same time, that's also a form of judgment or expectation as well. So getting back to mastery, I think the beginning stages, again, if you want to change your thinking and you want to move towards mastery, you want to become aware of your thoughts, become aware of your self-talk, because I believe that's one of the quickest, fastest ways to change is to become aware of your thoughts and to change them, and become aware of your words and change them. It's something very tangible. You don't have to meditate for 20 minutes. You don't have to lay down and visualize. You don't have to repeat affirmations over and over again. All of that's great. I would say that one of the biggest leverage points is just to avoid saying negative things.
Yeah.
You don't even have to say positive things. Just avoid negativity, because every time you say something negative, it creates an image. It creates an image like, don't hit the ball in the net, or you always hit the ball in the net. Immediately there's like a subconscious image of the net. So if there's one thing, if you want to move towards mastery with your thinking and with your mental game, which is the foundation to express all the physical stuff, stop saying negative stuff.
Excellent. Yeah. I'm going to come back to that in a second.
Okay.
So, but I do want to acknowledge that people are putting some pretty awesome comments and questions from great things you've said, Jeff. So Leslie here says, what's your thought of having your target as a height above the net and not the landing point? I've always focused on what cone I want to hit across the court, not where the ball crosses the net. So,
yes. Okay. Great, Leslie. And I saw your comments earlier. Thanks. Thank you for the support. I appreciate it. Thanks for watching my content. So this is really interesting too, because when you put the targets down on the court, you're essentially looking through the net at that target. When you aim for a spot above the net, which is what Lansdorp did with me, and what I also teach a lot, and others teach too. It's not a novel concept, but again, I don't think actually a lot of club players focus on this principle. One, they're probably not, they're not aiming to targets. Two, if they are aiming to targets, it's too close to the line. And three, they're not aiming at that spot above the net. The analogy I could give is related to bowling. So when I bowl, and I'm not a great bowler, but when I do bowl once a year, twice a year, and I go to throw the ball, I'm not looking, I look at the pins initially, but as I approach that line, I see those arrows that are what, 10 feet in front of me. And if I know I hit that arrow, I give myself the best chance of hitting the pins. And it's a similar concept with aiming for a spot above the net. It's like the halfway point, and it can give you, again, it's almost like you're removing the net, because all you have to do is hit it through a spot above the net. You're taking the net out of play. And so I think that's a great cue that everyone should be practicing every day if they want to move towards mastery.
Yeah, just focusing on it over the net is very powerful. I have a good story on that myself. Nick Saviano came to speak at a USPTA conference that I was speaking at, and I did not bring my tennis racket. And then we are going to play like the mini tennis, like 10 under tennis. And this one guy said, "Hey, you want to hit? We're getting ready to do like on the short court, uh, but he wanted to hit on the regular court." And all I had was the mini tennis racket, which was like a piece of aluminum, like it was really low quality. And he was using his regular racket, so I'm hitting with him, and I could not keep one ball in play. Like, well, that's exaggerating, but I was missing a lot. And then I reminded myself, I'm like, let's try this. Nick Saviano said, when you start warming up, say to yourself, over the net and in. So that kind of covers two things you said, where you aim and what you say to yourself. So all I said was over the net and in. Every time I was getting ready to hit, they're like replace bounce hit, that term, like when you see it bounce, say bounce. When you're going to hit. So I just go over the net and hit. And then all of a sudden I got in this rhythm where like it was almost like my grunt, over the net and in. And I all of a sudden could feel my racket, and I didn't miss for like 10 minutes straight, just saying those two things to myself. So focusing over the net and then saying that it's going to go in, just a powerful thing that kind of remind me of a lot of what you're talking tonight. I want to acknowledge that Emma Doyle is on with us, a rock star coach.
And Maribon as well.
Yeah. Well, we don't care about Maribon so much. No, we love Maribon
I do.
too.
I care about Maribon.
Oh, Maribon is my buddy. We're going to be on together on Sunday. Maribon knows I'm kidding. Maribon is fantastic. So I hope he knows, because we kid each other, that I'm joking. But I know you're the sensitive type, Jeff, so I'm going to make sure not to say anything.
Please don't make fun of me tonight.
I will not make fun of you.
Okay.
But yeah, this is awesome. So we talked about that. Another thing that you mentioned, what you say to yourself, remind me of something that Jim Lair said. So maybe we go even deeper into what you're saying. He said that the most damaging thing that athletes go through is the voice that no one hears. That what you're saying to yourself that no one hears can have such a big impact on your game. So what are some of those things that when you start to, get nervous or miss a lot of shots, you see yourself doing something again that you feel is a negative trait of yourself, that you're like, here I go again. I'm screwing up again in this moment. How do you stop that vicious cycle, even though it is a pattern that you can't ignore?
Right. Well, we talked about it earlier. The first step is just becoming aware. I'm not sure many people are aware of the thoughts they have, and then even how they verbalize it. Because sometimes if I'm working with a player, or even if I'm doing a coaching call, I'll listen for their words. And even we as coaches are guilty of it. Emma Doyle and I actually did a workshop last couple of days that she facilitated, and we're catching ourselves saying different words that aren't as empowering as other words. So the first thing is just to become aware of your language. And I hear people, again, comment, let's say with forehand, if they get too close to the ball, they'll say, I'll say, what happened there? What did you notice? And they'll say, I got too close to the ball. So people tend to observe and report in the negative. 80% of our thoughts are negative, and we have 60,000 thoughts every day. So the reason that happens is because it's a way to keep us safe from the saber-toothed tiger out there. is to actually have negative thoughts to like protect us from the world. So it's our job, it's our responsibility while we're here on this planet to shift that at least to a neutral place. You can go positive too. So becoming aware is huge. And if you're not aware, you could start writing it down at a changeover at the end of a practice. And you want to start rewriting your language. Instead of I'm too close to the ball, create more space, get away from the ball. And again, most people, even after I tell them, you just said you were too close to the ball. What do you want to say instead? 5 minutes later, oh, I got too close to the ball. So we have these habitual patterns. I think it's 95% of all the thoughts we think are the same every single day. We're on autopilot. We're on a loop. And so you change it through, self-awareness. You change it through meditation. You change it through journaling. You change it from getting good coaching. One of the biggest challenges is that a lot of coaches aren't aware of their languaging. And so they don't even realize that they're possibly planting limiting beliefs into their students. So as coaches, we have to be really, really solid and on point with our language. And again, the spirit of tonight was about mastery. And mastery is about being able to change your mind, change your technique, change where you hit a target, even change your body. If you want to be a true master, a Kung Fu master or a Tai Chi master, you want to master all aspects of your life. And obviously in today's day and age, when life is rushing and we've got kids and we have partners and we have jobs, it's very difficult to do everything, right? You can practice certain things that are important to you. And for those of you listening, I know tennis is important to you. So tennis can be a vehicle to learn mastery.
Oh, man, this is good. This is better than I thought it was going to be, Jeff.
We're getting deep, aren't we?
I love it. I love it. I want to go back to something you said about 10, 20 minutes ago, because I want to make sure it didn't slip past anybody.
Okay.
As you said, you would go to practice, but you'd show up an hour early and you'd also stay late. And you said one of the reasons why you showed up early is you realized you were not going to get enough of something that day. It reminds me, I work with high performance juniors at this place called Windy Hill, and they're all really good players, but they all have holes in their games. And I beg them, I'm like, go work on your serve, put the ball machine on, like do this. I said, you see what's happening this week. Like there'll be certain weeks we're just hitting so many ground strokes. Like there's so many, I'm like, you see all we're doing this week is like ground strokes. So like make sure because I don't run the program. So I'm like, make sure you get your serves in. So like if you have a tournament or something like that, you're not going to only have your ground strokes going this week. Like notice what's going on in practice. There's a theme every week. We don't get to everything every day. What are you not getting enough of? And so I think that that's really important for people to do. And then also, I'd like you to talk about what do you think about, if you were in Colorado, is this going to be freezing all week, or it's going to be a snowstorm, and you're getting ready to play a tournament? Would you use, oh, well, it's too cold outside this week to practice tennis? What do pros do when they can't actually go to the court? And how beneficial is it to actually practice some of this stuff off the court?
Sure. Well, obviously you can improve your mental game. So you can get really clear. Obviously in the moment, when you're under stress, you need to be able to practice in the moment. You can spend time on the mental game. You can spend time mastering your body with mobility, with stretching, with getting stronger. You can work on your cardio. You can study game film. Today's kids, because of the social media, because of the short attention spans, because of all the distraction, they're not sitting down and watching matches of the pros. Not enough, at least. And again, if you remember, my mastery as a coach, or my development of mastery as a coach, came from studying hundreds, thousands of hours of match footage to learn shot selection, to learn things that I actually wasn't being taught. I actually learned from the best. So these players, if they can't get on the court, could be studying game film, just like Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, these guys study film so that when they get on the court, everything slows down because they can see the patterns and they know what they're going to do. Shadow strokes, you can find a racquetball court or an indoor garage or something. iCoach, Topspin Pro, shadow strokes, anything you can do to get better. Now, a couple things I want to mention there. Again, it's so important that if you're going to do your shadow strokes or you're going to use an iCoach or a Topspin Pro, that you either record yourself and look at your strokes on the Topspin Pro or the iCoach, or you get a coach to help you. Because I've seen people think, oh my gosh, I'm so committed. I'm doing my iCoach in the garage. They'll send me a video and it's like the worst technique I've seen in their forehand. They're not even following through. They're just kind of doing this on the iCoach. And I'm going, oh, wait a minute. You'd be better off with a full finish. So remember, it's one thing to work hard and put the extra effort in. It's another thing to actually do it with high quality detail. Many players are actually maybe hurting their games by practicing inefficiently. Another thing that I want to share is actually the opposite of mastery. So I have a caveat here. One thing that you want to look out for with mastery is that if it becomes all consuming, you lose a sense of joy, happiness, or even a sense of balance. And this is something that as a performance coach now, I'm stepping into keynote speaking, workshops in organizations and companies. And a lot of peak performers or a lot of coaches that want to teach peak performance, it's amazing. And they'll reference Kobe Bryant or Michael Jordan and even Tom Brady. Well, Tom Brady, looks like he might be getting divorced because he's been so obsessed with football, because he's even admitted, I missed all the Thanksgivings and all the Christmases and all my kids' events. And so that's one of the things I'm actually really curious about and sharing is that, listen, I've been on one end where I'm obsessed and I went after my goal and my dreams, and I'm still very passionate, and I'm wanting to be a master coach, right? I want to be a master. I wanted to be a master coach on the tennis court. Now I want to be a master coach in the executive space. I put the time in the hard yards. It also comes with sacrifice, and you also have to balance that with that happiness and fulfillment if you're on purpose. So I don't want to lose sight of the fact that a lot of people are chasing mastery and then they wake up one day and go, gosh, I'm not even that happy. So I think a lot of people on here are happy because they love tennis and it really feeds their soul. I just want to touch on that because some of the best athletes in the world are actually the unhappiest. And I've been very curious about studying that. Even the Olympians, there's a documentary out, I think it's called Weight of Gold. And Michael Phelps talks about he won 17 gold medals or 35 gold medals or 102 gold medals. And he's really struggled with depression and mental health. And a lot of Olympians are really struggling with what happens in life after they achieve mastery. They don't have that foundation of wellness and well-being. They haven't learned that because they were always chasing being the best. So I just wanted to share that caveat that my teaching is a lot more centered around a balance of chasing mastery, but also feeling fulfilled.
Wow. We got Ian Westerman, who is a legend as well. You are a legend as well, Ian, calling us legends. Don't know about myself, but definitely Jeff. And there's Maribon's back again. Great message. I think this is a great message you just made about, making sure that you're getting the enjoyment out of it, and I think that is another thing that makes mastery fun, is not doing it just to get, if you were at a 3.5 behind your, on your ranking, you just want to get it to get a 4.0. It's about enjoying the process, enjoying the idea of just discovering your game and not putting like a time constraint on it, but just enjoying it. And you point out on shadow strokes. And to me, shadow strokes are a lot of fun. It was one of those things that I just love to go around the house. And I was always, because I like the art of tennis and I wanted to make it look better and better. And many years ago, probably like 10 years ago, I was like 40 years old and in the kitchen with my mom, and I was still swinging around, my phone or something. She's like, "You're never going to stop doing that," because I like that feeling. But to show you how powerful that is and why I believe more people should do it is King Richard is the only, I'll be interested to get your thoughts. It's the only tennis movie I have watched where when the tennis came on, I didn't go, "Oh no, I can't take it. This is not what tennis people look like." They actually looked good. I thought they were some decent juniors. And I found out, guys, this is very interesting. If you've never heard me say this before, the girls never hit one ball ever. And then I watched the young lady who played Venus, and she said her coach did not let her hit a ball for 2.5 months. All they did were shadow strokes. And like you said, so you hit on a lot of important points. Just don't do shadow strokes. Make sure there's some way to verify it. At the very least, video yourself. And if you have an app like a Coach's Eye or a Huddle or whatever, then play it in slow motion so you can honestly ask yourself, okay, now that shadow stroke that at contact, would that ball actually go in? Because a lot of shadow strokes when you're swinging, if we stop you at contact, it'd be going out to the fence or into the net. So you want to make sure that it actually looks the way you want it to look. And the most important part is, what does your shadow stroke look like at contact? And then using, like, if you upgrade to lifetime access to TennisCon for 30 days, this is how much I want to give back and how important I think it is. For 30 days, you're allowed to send me a video on your strokes. So all the stuff that you're learning, you can see if it's working. I know I went on a little bit of a rant, but I just wanted to
Yeah.
put that in. Any feedback, if I gave you any thoughts at all?
Well, I have one about, you mentioned the shadow strokes and even with technique, and maybe I'm simplifying it too much. I try to look for patterns with players, and players basically make a lot of the same mistakes over and over again. You've seen it, Pete. You could probably close your eyes and guess one of 3 or 4 things someone's doing, and open your eyes and probably see at least 1, 2, or 3, or all of them, right? So it's very rare on a normal forehand that someone is too far away from the ball. Most people are too close to the ball in tight. So obviously there's exceptions, right? This is not blanket, but a general pattern I see is that players are too close to the ball. And then it's very rare that I see someone have a follow through where their extension is amazing. It's usually like something like this. So around mastery, it's like, well, what if you just improved how you start your swing? And what if you just improved how you finish your swing? And when you do your shadows, you exaggerate your first move and you exaggerate how you finish. And Robert Lansdorp, again, he would make me and Sampras, when he was 9 years old, catch the racket out in front to mimic extension. So just an example of like, how do we achieve mastery? It's not just hitting 1,000 forehands. It's actually identifying the micro thing, the little thing you want to improve on, and focusing on it, even if it's for 5 minutes or 10 minutes to get those reps. And then you come back the next day and you do the same thing. We analyze videos at Tennis Evolution, and one of our core principles is simplifying the full serve. So people do a full serve and everything breaks down from the very beginning. So one of the big things we do is we might put someone in like what we call a half serve, where the racket is here, just to get them the feel of like trying to turn their shoulders first, because they're not turning their shoulders when their arms are down here. And we'll give them the drill, and they'll send us a video in a week later, and they're not even sending us a half serve video. They're sending us the full motion, and maybe they said they worked on the half serve and nothing's changed. And so they either don't even do the half serve that's prescribed, or they actually do it for about 5 minutes and then they go right back to the full serve. So there isn't a patience or deep enough commitment to mastering the little things first before they move on to the next step.
Oh my gosh, that is the key. And that's the thing that I think everything that we're saying, enjoying the process and not being in a rush is so important too. uh, I think maybe because we're adults, we feel like we're racing the clock or something. And another thing that I think I hear all the time is, oh, if I would have started when I was younger, well, half those kids when they're 20 something, they're burned out anyway. They're not even playing. So,
Right.
but they all go through that process. They're forced to go through the process of doing the mini progressions, and they're going every week. But that's something that you guys have to enjoy, because Jeff said the same thing that happens to me is when you guys send me videos. I'm a big believer in the half serve. I like to call it the secret power source, because this is where you see like athletes really get ready to throw and get rid of the ball. So getting that position, because a lot of getting there is style, but once you get here, this is where all the meat and potatoes starts to happen on the serve, and that's why so many great players will just. I've seen Patrick Mortaglu. I'm not sure I'm saying that right. I've seen him work with Holger Rune and other players right at the net, right from this position, and having the patience to do this stuff over and over and over again and enjoy it, and realize that if you guys want a new technique, look at it like you're an inventor, okay? And you want to sell a product in a store. You can't just have an idea or dabble in it for a week and then expect to bring it and sell it into the mass market. It would
Yeah.
fall apart. It's enjoying the process of, hey, I want to work on this behind the scenes. Maybe it's going to take me a year. Maybe it's going to take me 2 or 3 years, but I'm going to work on it. I'm going to enjoy the process and not be in a rush and go back to those micro progressions over and over and over again. If you watch Steph Curry practice, he does the same warm up in his dribbling all the time. So willing to do that is huge. And then I'll be interested to see what your thought is. I've been saying more and more to people, it's like, yeah, if you want to get this thing, work on this behind the scenes, just like you're building a product. But don't expect or put pressure on yourself. I think that's what happens. Like, okay, I'm learning on this new thing, and now I got to see if it works in the match. And then you go double fault 30 times. You're like, then you're like in this war. Like, do I go double fault 30 times and do it the right way, or do I go back to my old serve? And then we run back to our old serve. So I just tell people, hey, wherever you're at today that you can get the ball in the box, go use that on game day, and then make sure that you're going back to the practice court a lot. You know, kind of like when you first go on a diet, if you do need to lose some weight or get in better shape, you got to do it really, really close together if you want to get out of that cycle of going back and forth. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna grab. I want to grab my racket real quick. I
Grab
want to
your
show
racket.
something.
We're getting
So
extra. We're getting some racket work tonight. Okay,
yeah,
when he comes back, I'm gonna blow up the screen.
yeah, so an example. Let's do an example, Pete, of like again, like the forehand. Someone wants to improve their forehand. What might they say to you?
I want to hit more power. I
I
want
want
to
to
be
hit
more
more
consistent.
power.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to be more consistent. For me, that's way too general, right? Or if they say I want to change my technique, what would be some of the things they would say about that?
Well, a lot of them say, I want to get more modern. I want to get more top spin. I
Right,
want to look like Roger.
right. So for me, a simple way towards mastery that all of you could try, take one of the strokes you want to work on and pick one technical cue and pick one target cue. So let's say on the forehand, if you video and you know you're getting too close to the ball and you have T-Rex arms on the first move, your goal for the next month would be to master this. That's it. Just get really good at that and don't worry about anything else. And then journal or know where you miss most of your forehands. Most people miss their forehands in the net or long, but mostly in the net. So what if you eliminated all net errors for a month and you worked on your first move? That's a lot different than saying, I want more spin. I want a modern forehand. Those descriptions are not descriptive or specific enough. And so that's what I talk about mastery is really like taking one technical tip and one target tip, a different target that you're going to achieve instead of the one that you keep making mistakes on. I'll take it another step further with the serve. So you were showing the half serve there, right, Pete?
Mm-hmm.
And you were demonstrating your hand was in this position. So the hand was kind of relaxed and it was in about a 90-degree angle, maybe a little less than 90. The hand almost looks like you're going to throw a ball. But I see a lot of people where their hand is like, their arm is like this. So when they're in their half serve, it looks like that. You've probably seen it, Pete, a lot, where the racket's like this. Well, they send the video in and it looks like this, and we're like, no, you have to get to here. So having the self-awareness that a half serve is not just a half serve, it's a half serve done efficiently with high quality. That's the mastery right there. And you get it so it's in this position and more comfortable over time. But you don't start with a half serve here and say, I've been doing the half serve for 3 months and it hasn't gotten better. So
Yes.
it's all just information. When you get video on it, or you get a coach, or you have your own self-awareness, you start to notice. We have a student actually in our VIP program that sends us videos. His name's Peter. And I'm telling you what, this guy, I mean, he looks like basically a clone of the way that I teach, my teaching technique. And he's like a 4-0 player. So for him to have his technique look almost exactly like we teach it is confirmation to me that certain people go all the way. And someone made a comment, truth is the vast majority of players do not want to go through the steps and repetition required to achieve mastery. They just want to play at their current level, and we have to accept that. So I would suggest that a lot of players say they want to change. They may want to change, but they're just not quite stepping over the line and getting the awareness or the understanding of what it's going to take. And it doesn't necessarily mean 1,000 more hours. What it means is knowing the difference between this and this, or knowing the difference between this and this. Knowing the difference. When I ask people, do you miss your forehand long, wide, or in the net? Most people say it's about the same, all of them. And I'm like, hogwash. There's no way it's 33% wide, long, and in the net. There is one shot, or there's one error that you make more of at least 50% of the time. And when you know what that is, you can change it, because you can stop doing that mistake and making a different one. We just have to have the awareness first.
Woo! You're on fire. You're on fire. The whole idea, and I love that, and that's exactly what I do in my hyper focus camps. Is we focus on one thing at a time, and then when I tell them when they're going to leave, I'm like, whatever that one thing is you struggle with the most, just focus on that. And when we're working on a new stroke, I will say, and the arm is usually where we start on the forehand. We usually start with that off arm, and I say, look, you need that ball outside of that arm, because you got a racket in your hand that adds another 2.5 feet there. So if the ball's coming under the arm, you're still too close. So, and just saying, okay, now on our video, I don't care if the ball goes in or out right now. Let's just see if that arm is right, and then you adding the target idea in there too. And it's just so great, because this is the stuff that Jeff teaches, that I teach, but that Jeff's also done to achieve that certain level of mastery. And this is what the pros do, is they're willing to work on just one thing and not get bored of it. And not just one shot, but one aspect of a stroke until it looks perfect. We're trying to do too many things at once. And we're on fire there. You're on fire.
Robin said video may help connect visual images with feel, but not always. 100% correct. So we've been talking a lot about visual tonight. Where does the feel come in? Well, again, let's just steal it from the ultimate book, Inner Game of Tennis. We talk about feel, becoming aware of your grip tension, how tight you squeeze the racket. Pete, what percentage of players that you work with hold the racket too loose compared to too tight?
0, including myself.
Right. So if everyone's here and everyone's missing forehands, I mean, not everyone, but most in the net, and then most people are gripping too tight, if we just work on, hey, let's just be aware of the grip tension and exaggerate being looser, that's probably going to make you a better player. So that's the feel with the grip. Even the feel of awareness of where is the ball hitting on the strings. How many people can tell us where the ball hit on the strings when they're done? Unless they really get focused on it, they can't do it. Yeah. So there are ways, being aware of your head at contact. We know that most people pull their head and lift their chest. What if you just swing and you're aware of your chin finishing on your shoulder, have an awareness of that. So feel and visual and thinking, it all bleeds together, and you want to become a master at some of these basic things. These are basics. They're not advanced. These are basic things, doing the basics really well. Just a lot of players are not focusing on the basics. Like you said, they're distracted by 10 other things instead of the core things we've actually talked about tonight. And someone else said, Daniel, he's on fire. He's sweating. Is that you sweating, Pete, or me?
I think you're not sweating. You look
I'm
good.
not. I'm cool as a cucumber over
I
here.
think he's the same. You're right. So
Oh,
this
okay.
is awesome. We're close to 200 people now. Now, Jeff's been going here for an hour strong, and I have a feeling that we could probably do that. This could become like a telethon if we let it happen. We could be on here until probably in the tomorrow morning talking about this, because we're obviously both very passionate about it. But I do want people to ask some questions, and I want to. So there you go, guys. That's a bit of how you really focus on mastery. Let's just recap, and then if I leave anything out, you want to add anything onto it, Jeff, go for it. But it's willing to break things down into small exercises and progressions. Just work on one thing. It's going after targets, especially when you're looking above the net. It's having the mindset of enjoying the process, being aware, and making sure that you're always aware of how you're talking to yourself too, and being positive. That's the summary of what I got out tonight. Did I miss anything from you, Mr. Serve Surgeon?
You covered most of it, if not all, as a summary, I think. And I'll even reframe the part when you said be positive. I'll actually go as far as just saying don't be negative, because being neutral and actually saying, when you're out there saying something like, okay, next ball, like what you did with Saviano, you said, what was it that you said?
Over the net and in.
Over the net and in. That's not a positive statement. It's a neutral statement, an action statement. So get into the practice of being objective with how you're seeing your game and your tennis, rather than labeling something good or bad. But yeah, you covered it. It's visual, it's feel, it's thoughts, it's smart work. I call it smart work instead of hard work, because I think we have to really get smart about how we're practicing. You'd be better practicing it correctly for 5 minutes than incorrectly for 2 hours. And I think a lot of people are practicing inefficiently, and that's what's frustrating. Hey, it's been 10 years and I haven't mastered this forehand. Well, that's just information. It's just a clue that maybe you weren't practicing the right way.
Yeah.
So, recalibrate that, and then you can actually improve very, very fast if you're focusing on the right things.
So talking of mastery, I want to get into your presentation. That I want you to talk about your presentation. I'm going to put the screen up for TennisCon, that people, because if you guys like tonight, we literally are just getting warmed up. I mean, TennisCon is incredible this year, and Jeff always does an amazing job. And so I'm going to pull up the screen here in a second. I think it just came up here, and we're going to take a look at TennisCon 6. Let me know, because now I can see Jeff. Are we on the TennisCon 6 page? Can you see that?
Yep.
Are you there?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, cool. So you guys can see the page. So this is TennisCon number 6, which I'm extremely proud of. This is one of my favorite times of the year, because I really do enjoy collaborating with all these amazing coaches and be able to share it with the most passionate tennis players I've ever worked with. The online community is just fantastic. And so what I want to go to is day 1. We got Mark Woodford of the Woodies. That's pretty cool, kicking it off. And then there's Jeff talking about how to develop the perfect two-handed backhand technique. So talk us a little bit through what you're going to go over.
So the two-handed backhand technique, you asked me to do it. Usually I do serve and forehand, but we stepped out of bounds here, and I got vulnerable, and I talked about all the things I struggled with my backhand. And a lot of mistakes I made where it kept me from achieving mastery. So I go deep into a progression on the two-handed backhand and how you can develop more feel and better technique. And I think a pretty simple progression. And what's really cool is, sure, it's for two-handed backhand players, but if you liked what we talked about tonight, it's still probably worth a look to see how I focus on body parts, body awareness, ways to use your body, because a lot of it will apply to the one-handed backhand or the forehand or anything else. So just my teaching style, you'll get a better handle on. Certainly, if you don't have a two-handed backhand, you may not want to watch it. But if you're obsessed and you want to understand how things are broken down, I think it's a great lesson. I mean, I hope it's a great lesson. I hope you guys get value out of it.
Oh, they will. I watched the lesson, and it was a great lesson. And you're right. Just the process of going through all the steps, I think people will learn a lot. I mean, when you guys go through all of these lessons, you're going to be inspired. You're going to learn a lot. It's just going to feed fuel to your fire of loving the game and realizing what a great game that you are playing. I'm scrolling through here showing you everybody that's just on Monday. I mean, it's just an awesome event. This guy Carew is a hell of a player who's Naomi Osaka's hitting partner, and he gives a great return to serve class. Then we have Tennis Express, and it just goes on and on. I'm not Alex and Simon, man. I would say you, Carew, Alex and Simon from Top Tennis Train, probably the best players that teach tennis online, I would say.
Well, again, I would say that those guys are younger than I am, so they're better players than me now, and I'm certainly not practicing a ton these days. So
Yeah.
I'm humble enough to know that I had my day years ago, but now I'm certainly not at the level that those guys are.
Yeah, and that's how I look at it too. I mean, I was a pretty good player, didn't get to the levels that you guys got at, but was one of I was a state champion, top 100 in the nation, all that, played Division I college. But now I look at it as I'm trying to get better and better and better at coaching. That's what I do all day, every day. Here's a great coach too, Ian, right here. So as you see, guys, it's just ton of amazing content this year at TennisCon. And what I want to point out is that if you've got your free ticket already, and you're feeling that you might be a little busy to watch it all, you think maybe it's a good idea, like Jeff says, you watch stuff over and over again. I'm going to put this up on the screen, Jeff, because if people upgrade tonight, you're going to do something special for them. So I just want to bring this up.
Sure. So
Can you see that?
before I talk about this course that I'm going to give away absolutely free, one thing I want to mention, and I hope that you'll take this to heart, is what Peter said is there's so much amazing content that you're going to get on the first day. So the way I look at this is like going to a business conference or a mastermind, and you have 10 different speakers, and they're all going to give incredible content, and it's going to be 30 to 45 minutes. What I would do is I would take notes on each presentation, and then at the top of the notes, I would highlight the one or two or max three big takeaways from each presentation. And then I would probably have a separate piece of paper that would actually list maybe the top 5 things that I'm going to go implement and take action on, because it's not, or even the top thing, because it's not about just taking in all this information and then trying to do all of it or not doing any of it. It's actually watching all of it and then taking the notes and then organizing your thoughts on what you think you need, and then pick the 1 or 2 or 3 things that are most important and have it in your database so that when you master the first thing or the second thing, you can come back in a month or 2 months or 6 months and you still have that list.
And this is about mastery too. And it kind of reminds me of, I talked about this in one of the videos I made. There was a German philosopher, I think, and he said that he did this study. It's called the forgetting curve, and that we forget, which is certainly true as I go through my days. I mean, it definitely is undeniable. You go through, you learn, you hear something great, not great, whatever it is. 2 or 3 days later, you cannot even tell people intelligently what you learned or what just happened to you a couple days ago. And so you forget 95% of what you learn within a couple of days. However, if you space it out, the space repetition learning, like Jeff just talked about and hit on, we didn't even plan to talk about. That was a surprise what Jeff just said, but it's so true. He said if you go through just 5 times, but you space it out, you watch something, you really like it, you're like, oh my God, this is the presentation for me. This is exactly what I want to work on and really sink my teeth into. Then you watch that same presentation again a couple days later, then a week later, then I think it's like a month later, and then it's like 5 or 6 months later, within a couple of months. You do it 5 times, all of a sudden you can actually retain 95% of what you learned. And I think this is another mistake that we make with people who are watching online instruction is you get all excited, you get all geeked out. You're like, yeah, this is amazing, totally great. And I'm learning a lot. And then you just don't come back to it. And so you forget it. And so important to do
So
that.
yeah, so let me just talk a little bit about the Winning Edge Masterclass. It's a mastery course, and it digs deep into a lot of the concepts we talked about tonight around mastery. And this is consider it a combination of inner game of tennis, some of Jim Lair's work. I did calls with Jim Lair when I was a pro. I've worked with Jeff Greenwald personally as a pro. I've done workshops with him. My own search and study to uncover the truth around the mental game and how it relates to tennis. And so this course normally sells for $397.
Yes, it
And
does.
I decided when Peter asked me to do this on mastery, I decided to throw this bonus in because I thought it best reflected where my path is heading in terms of I'm really, again, stepping into corporate coaching, working with executives, keynote speaking, and I want to impact people because I know we're in a stressed out world these days. I know people are distracted. I know people are dealing with stress, and this can help you deal with stress on the court and even off the court. So if you go through my link, we're going to give you that bonus absolutely free. A couple of things that are in this course, the Winning Edge Masterclass. We have a component called the Big Ideas. So it's 17 lessons on kind of the big ideas around the mental game, right? And then we have an entire module on, guess what? Awareness. So you have multiple videos on how to develop your awareness. We have another component called acceptance. So that's around letting go of the judgment and learning how to accept your mistakes and how to get into that neutral place. And then the next component is action. How do you actually take action on all of this? So it's the triple A. It's the 3 A's. Like I said, awareness, acceptance, and action. And then we also have bonuses inside of it. We have these game ready or match ready visualizations where you can close your eyes and listen to me take you through kind of a positive mindset visualization. I interviewed some top experts like Bob Litwin, and who's a world champion in tennis at the age of in his 70s, and several others. I also did some group coaching calls. So you'll see my coaching style, which was a bit similar to what we did tonight. And then we have a forum where people can go in and ask questions. We also teach you how to create your own story. So you're literally rewriting the way that you see yourself and see your tennis. That's another bonus. And then we have on-court tools. So I could go on for a while, but all the components and the bonuses, tremendous value of this in this course. I think the value is, gosh, it's almost $4,000 if you add up the real world value, and you're going to get it for free. So would love to have you guys join TennisCon and support Peter. And if you want, support me as well. And we'll give you that course. You'll just have to send us an email or a receipt and we can take care of you there.
Oh, absolutely. That is awesome. Yeah. And we'll be able to look, we'll actually be able to look up who did go through his link. And so I'm about to actually share this link right now. And I would really appreciate it if you would go off Jeff's link right now. If you feel like you got value tonight, if you feel that, if you agree with us, that if you agree with what you've learned about mastery, and that it's just not going through something once, it's just not, too scattered, but really taking the time to go through it. I know you guys get a lot of information all the time thrown at you, but how often do you actually go back to the information? You know, that it's not that you're hearing too many things. It's that you're not focused long enough on the stuff you need to hear. That's one of the things that Jeff said tonight. It's like you're focusing on the wrong thing. So one of your jobs going through this week is to figure out what are the things that speak to you? What are the things that you really need that are right in front of you that if you work on it, it's either going to move the needle for you the most in your game, or it's going to give you the most enjoyment to actually start to see yourself improve in that area. You know, those would be that's how I would approach tennis cons. Like either A, when I watch this, oh yeah, this is definitely going to get me to become a better player, or this is going to give me so much enjoyment that if I focused on this, then I'm going to really enjoy tennis and sink into it. And you can't. I mean, just tonight, when I walk away tonight, I'm going to be thinking about all the stuff that you said tonight, Jeff, and how great it was. But I'm not going to remember everything that you said. And I learned a lot tonight too. That's another thing I love about tennis con. So
I'll give you all a little secret of mine.
mhm.
This is going to be on YouTube, right?
It's on YouTube right now. Yeah.
Yeah. So when that comes out, you can actually, I think you can download it and you can turn it into an MP4 and you could actually transcribe this. There's services out there, and then you would have a full transcription of everything we talked about, and then you could go through that and study it so you don't lose it. And I think, again, in the spirit of retaining information, something like that could be really powerful. If there were golden nuggets in there that you enjoyed, consider doing something like that.
Absolutely. So, guys, I put the link there. Hopefully, you guys can see it. It's right there in the chat, and if you click on it and you upgrade to lifetime access, what you're going to get. Let me go through everything that you're going to get besides Jeff's bonus, which I've seen that course come around a lot. I've watched the videos he's made. It's really good stuff. And all the testimonials from people who've gone through it where you really help them on and off the court. And it's true. $397 is the price. So, I mean, that's real. And when we're throwing these numbers out, it might seem like, well, is it really that worth that much? That is the beauty of online instruction is if someone has come to me as an individual, like if Tom were to come to me as an individual and say, hey, Pete, can you put an event like TennisCon on for me and do it and send it to me and then analyze my video and do all this? I would literally say, Tom, I'm too busy, first of all, and I would have to charge you like $10,000-$20,000 to do what you're asking me. But the power of the online community, it makes sense for both of us. You get it for a steal of a deal, and it makes sense for us to where we can, keep feeding our bellies and going on doing what we love and our passion. So it's a win-win for both of us. The value is there. When you see this stack of this value, it's not out of thin air. It's really there. And if I were to do it just for you, Jeff, or you would just do it for me, you'd be like, Pete, I'm not even going to do that. That's crazy. You're crazy. But when it's for the masses, and hopefully it is for the masses, and it allows us to keep doing what we love. So make sure you click on Jeff's link. When you get lifetime access to TennisCon 6, you're not only getting 40 plus lessons that we're doing this year, you're also going to get the audio files that we're going to be putting together. It'll probably come out after TennisCon. Like Jeff just said, you can go to YouTube and get the audio so you can listen. Listen as you drive, listen as you're going to your matches. So it's just another learning mode that you're going to go through. You're going to get VIP hotline access to me for 30 days. You can ask me questions. If you go through a presentation, like, I don't quite get why he said or she said that, you can ask me a question and I'll come in and I'll answer it as best I can. If you want to send in your video of your serve, your forehand, your backhand, you can send in a video. I'll come in and analyze it. I value this at $597. I say it's on the low end. If there's somebody like Tom Nordstrom who is getting, like, he's robbing me blind every time we do a challenge because he sends me like 10 videos a challenge. If you take advantage of it, you're going to get more than your money's worth. And then I also made 4 big bonuses this year because I know people, want to figure out, well, how can I win more matches at my level? I want to go out there, I want to win. So I have winning at your level from 3-0 to 3-5 to 4-0 to 4-5 singles edition. And I did the same thing in doubles. And then if you want to get to the next level, because what will win at 3-0 is not going to win at 3-5, and what's going to win at 3-5 is not going to win at 4-0. What are those little things you need to change to get to the next level each time? That's also a bonus, and that's there right now. If you get lifetime access, you're going to see, I think we might have added Monday today. You're going to see the VIP coaching hotline. You're going to see how to get to the next level. And then next week when we start, you're going to start to see all these days being added into your library, and then it's going to live there forever. So you can go back as many times as you want. So like Jamie said, it is a great value. And it does take us to, John, it does take to my website as far as, let me make sure the link is working, but it will take you to buy an upgrade to TennisCon 6 for life. I'm going to click on the link just to make sure I did it right. So I'm just looking myself to make sure it's going to work. Yes, it is. So basically for the price of one cheap tennis racket, you can get all this value we're talking about. But what's going to happen is if you click on this specific link, the tracking will go back to Jeff, and then Jeff can see all the customers, and he can basically send you how to get access to the course. And I'll show Jeff how to do that, and I'll help him do that as well. So basically you guys will come in, your information will come in, we'll know how to get it out to you. It is a manual process, so don't think when you sign up for TennisCon 6 that you're automatically going to get Jeff's bonus. It's going to take us a little bit of behind the scenes work to make sure you get that. If you're not getting it within a couple of days, email Jeff, email me. I mean, I am so dedicated to make sure you guys get what you want, because it takes a lot of work to put this together. So the biggest crying shame for me is sometimes to know that you guys will buy this and then not go in and actually use the information, because it takes Jeff to put his mental not only everything he's learned his whole life to put it together, then actual building the course. I'm sure it takes him months and months. How long did it take you to put together the mental mastery course?
I mean, yeah, it took a long time. Yeah, just to put together the concepts and make the videos. And then, like you said, this is from 40 plus years of winning, losing, laughing, cheering, crying, wanting to quit, studying with the masters. So it goes deep.
Yeah, it goes deep. And to put TennisCon together, guys, I don't even count hours. I mean, to count hours would just be stupid. Like I probably wouldn't do it if I counted the hours, but it's not about the hours for me. It's about the passion. It's about getting to connect with people that I respect, like Jeff. It's about seeing you guys show up. I'm not kidding. I will tell, I work with these high performance juniors, and I tell the coaches, I don't tell the kids, I'm like, the people that are online, I enjoy coaching them more, even though, maybe they're younger and a lot of them might hit a better ball. A lot of them hit a better ball than I hit a better ball, but it's the obsession that you guys have. It's going, the fact that you guys are on here at 9:30 at night. I mean, that's not lost on me. You're watching this live stream. You're trying to get better. I meet a lot of you in person. I'm just so impressed by how much you love the game and what you're willing to do. And most people who are at a club are not willing to do what you guys are willing to do. And that's why I want to keep putting the best information in front of you guys and the best coaches. And yeah, I mean, I see some people have actually signed up. So I just want to thank you guys for signing up. And I really want you to support TennisCon, support Jeff. And I'm going to put his link in one more time. And then we'll also email you out the replay and the link when we hang up, if you can't find the link, or you're just enjoying the content. So we're going to follow up with an email. So be looking for your email here probably in the next hour, and it will have Jeff's link in there. And you can also watch the replay. And then we'll put, I think this presentation was so good, Jeff, that I'm probably going to put this inside of TennisCon 6 so people don't lose it, so it's not going to get lost on YouTube. It's hard to find videos sometimes. So I think I'm going to take this actual presentation we did tonight, because I thought it was outstanding. And I'm probably going to park that in TennisCon 6 as well.
Well, again, I appreciate you texting me and saying, let's do mastery. I didn't even know when you said it. I was like, oh, mastery, what are we going to talk about? And then I realized we could be talking for hours about stories and lessons and different things that people can learn. So it was really fun for me to talk about tonight. And it feeds right into my purpose and what I want to do inside the tennis world and outside the tennis world. So thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Absolutely. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to let Jeff go. He's been going an hour and a half strong. When I say strong, I mean passion, energy, and the information off the chart. So, Jeff, thank you so much.
Yeah.
If you have not ever checked out, which I think everybody has, I mean, you've been around so long and you do such a great job. But I mean, definitely go to YouTube, look at Tennis Evolution, go to his website, tennisevolution.com. When he's offering stuff for free, sign up. When he's offering stuff to pay for it, support it. That's what keeps us, you know, um, going really, and inspired to keep going. So, and also be a good person, right, Jeff? Is that what you're
That's
serving
right.
tonight?
And look,
Be
Colorado
a good
proud right
person.
here, baby.
Oh, there you go. I got the logo right here. There we go. Be a good person. Guys, thank you so much. I'm going to let Jeff go. And Jeff, thank you. Thank you guys for watching and a lot more. We're just getting warmed up. Sunday night, we're going to be on live with Maribon. Monday night, I'm going to be on live with Gigi Fernandez, and she might even bring some more Grand Slam champions on the call. So, keep in touch. Stay tuned, guys, and we'll see you guys on the next live stream.
Thank you, everyone.